Very good morning, children. Today we are going to study the poem Amanda. The poem is composed by the Australian poet named Robin Klein. She is very popular as children's writer. Ruskin Bond, Enid Blyton, Roald Dahl, all these poets, and there are many, they wrote so many stories, poems for children. And children, when do they read those poems, those stories, they find a great pleasure. They read it in a great taste. Now, Robin McLaughlin was an Australian author. She wrote a lot of books for children. She very first wrote short stories and later she elevated as the most reputed Australian poet. And her books have been shortlisted for Children's Book of the Year awards. Now, Amanda, the poem Amanda. Amanda is a name of girl. See, dear children, yesterday in the afternoon it was raining heavily. And in my lane, some of children, they were enjoying raining. They were dancing, they were slinging mud, and it was watched, it was seen through the window by my son. He wanted to, but I restricted him. I strictly admonished him not to get out of the threshold. Why did I do that? Because last week he had a fever. So he was very much unhappy. He was disappointed. So children often they are restricted. They are told most of the time don'ts. And every child feels that she or he is controlled by elders, by parents, by teachers. And what do they feel? Their freedom is curtailed. And they dislike it. They do not like it. Sometimes we do feel our freedom is curtailed. And when do we feel that? Then naturally we feel disappointed, disgusted. Then children, they want to do so many things, but always they are told not to do many things. And parents, they don't allow them to do. So here we are going to study the poem Amanda. See, the poem is composed into 7 stanzas and it is written in the conversational style, but it's monotonous. It's monotonous. Why do I call it monotonous? Because an elderly person, either a father or a teacher or an elderly person. He goes on instructing, but child doesn't answer to him or her. I told you the poem is composed into 3 stanzas, and very first let me say second, fourth and sixth stanza. These are parentheses. These are parentheses. I write here on the board parentheses. What does it mean? You see, these stanzas are written in parentheses, and first, third, fifth and seventh, these stanzas are the instructions of an elderly person. But children, we experience sometime father in our house, in our home, an elderly person, he instructs, he says, but children, they don't say, they don't answer, they listen to, but they don't answer, and they keep busy themselves, or they keep engaged themselves in doing what do they like. You understand? What do I say? Sometime it's very common, it's very an ordinary picture in everyone's family. Child, he is busy in playing on mobile. Father says something. Child listens, but he doesn't act on it. And child, neither he answers nor he looks at him. Just he keeps himself, or just he keeps engaged himself in doing more and more the same activity. And most of the time it irritates father. So listen here. In this poem, second, fourth and sixth stanzas are written in parentheses. Why do those paragraphs write in parentheses? Because these are the children's thought. These thoughts are of child's. He doesn't say. These thoughts are in his mind. These thoughts are in his mind. For example, father, he says, my child, you 3 o'clock in the evening, you sit for study. But child doesn't reply. And there is a thought in child's mind that at 3 o'clock he will go to play with his friends on the ground. You understand here. But does he say that he wants to go to play on the ground? Doesn't say. And so which thoughts are in child's mind, those are not expressed, those are unexpressed, those thoughts are written in parentheses. Okay? Now dear children, I am going to recite the poem. You see, it's very beautiful poem. And when do I read, you will understand the tone, of the poem. You see, Amanda, don't bite your nails. Amanda, don't hunch your shoulders. Amanda, stop that slouching and sit up straight. Amanda, there is languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me. A mermaid drifted blissfully. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. I'm an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden. The freedom is sweet. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda? Will you please look at me when I am speaking to you, Amanda? I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I shall certainly never let down my bright hair. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You are always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. You see, which stanzas were spoken in high pitch, high tone. Naturally, those were the expressions of father. And very sweetly, in a lower tone, which stanzas were recited. Naturally, those were the feelings, emotions, sentiments of a child which were unexpressed, which were not expressed. Okay, now you see, in this poem, the poem Amanda has been composed by Robin Klein. I talked about the poetess. In this poem, the poetess describes a girl named Amanda. The poetess is scolding and instructing. You see, poetess, a father, a mother, an elderly person. It is not known to anyone. You just imagine. Okay? She asks her neither to bite her nails nor to drop her shoulders, but to sit straight. These are common instructions to every child in her classroom or home. On the other hand, the girl imagines that she is a mermaid in the calm green sea, and she is roaming in it. You see, where is child? Where is child's mind? Father, a mother, an elderly person instructs to sit straight, to sit erect. But where is a child's mind? She imagines herself as a sea mermaid, and she swims in an emerald sea. Languid. Then the poetess asks her if she has finished her homework and cleaned her room. She asks her not to eat chocolates as she is having pimples on her face. Then the girl imagines that she is an orphan and roaming in the street on the soft dust. She imagines that she is Rapunzel. The story of Rapunzel, you know it. Okay, she lives on an ivory tower. The witch controls her. The prince comes and rescue her. You know the story of Rapunzel. So she considers You see, it's quite natural. Children always, what do they listen? What do they watch? They live in those characters. I tell you, yesterday in my house, my child watched the cartoon. In that cartoon, a child was milking the cow. Almost for half an hour, he was in that character as milkman. You see, children, they live vicariously. Children, they live in fanciful characters. Always. So, in this poem, very first, a child imagines herself as a mermaid, then an orphan child, and then Rapunzel. And she ignores her father's instructions. She ignores an elderly person's instructions. Otherwise, people will think that she has been scolded by the poetess. Thus, we find that she gives a number of advice to the girl Amanda. But children, they are advised a number of by their parents, but they don't pay attention and they keep busy themselves in an imaginary things. Okay, so it is about poem. Okay, so it is the central idea of the poem. Now, theme of the poem. In this poem, the poetess is describing a girl whose name is Amanda. She scolds her for her bad habits and instructs her to sit properly. The girl imagines herself as a mermaid. The poetess forbade her to eat chocolates. At last, she advises the girl not to be worried and unhappy. So, here the poetess, she goes on instructing, but a child, she goes on keeping herself in imagination of a sea mermaid, Rapunzel, and an orphan child. Okay, so it is about a poem, and you see here in this poem glossary language. Languid, languid, it means relaxed. Second, drifting, moving slowly. Pattern, make patterns. Tranquil, calm. So these are unfamiliar words to you. Parenthesis, you understand. Those thoughts of a child which are not expressed are kept by the poetess in parenthesis. Okay, then you see, dear children are always advised and guided by the elders, but they never follow them. Although the elders' guidance is always good for children, this poem Amanda is also an example of it. Yes, it's true. Yes, it is true that children are always given good suggestions and advice by the elders that are beneficial to children. The elders always think for the good of children. They are experienced, they know well what they should do for the welfare of the children. They have a perfect knowledge and that they want to share with the children. But it is also true that children never like to follow them. They don't like to be given advice and suggestions. They want to live free life like Amanda. You see, here, what do we learn from the poem? That we elders to understand that we must balance. We must balance between the next generation and we. And if we advise excessively, then nothing works out. We must take them into confidence, and then only we can we can do it. So it is about the poem Amanda. Okay, dear children, I hope you understand it. And see, I tell you the story of Rapunzel. You read it, it's a very beautiful story, and you will find a pleasure in reading. So, story, then mermaid, you understand? Okay, thank you.